If you're a business owner or a business leader and you're managing all the functions of your C-suite, subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and let's start talking about how you can make the most use of your time so that you can enjoy life and keep the dream alive.
What's happening? Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Fractional, where we bring entrepreneurs, business leaders, cool people on, and we talk about how they've built businesses, and most importantly, how you enjoy life and build a lifestyle and have a business that supports that. And everybody's probably wondering why we've got this brute squad here this morning, and that's a pretty good question, but to be honest, these guys were part of the catalyst to really push me to start the podcast, and I only thought it would only be so fitting to have you guys on, and we could talk and just have some fun. I mean, this is kind of a bucket list thing for me, and hopefully for you guys as well. So,
man, thanks for having us.
Heck yeah. So what we're going to talk about today is all of us here are, I guess we're kind of like normal people, but we've all done some really cool stuff. And we just want to, kind of share that and talk about it and, and have a chance to have some fun. So I got Hunter Heverly on the far end. Hunter is a professional surfer, deep sea diver, free diver, fisherman, has done some really cool stuff. Worth Farrington travels the world doing offshore fishing, some serious deep sea fishing. Also does some investment business as well. And then Chad is a physical therapist and an exercise guru, and is holding us all together as we get older. So, Hunter, let's start with you. Just introduce yourself and tell us kind of what you do, and then we'll go down the line.
I'm Hunter Heverly. I was born and raised in Emerald Isle, North Carolina, a block over from Worth here. Known him basically my whole life, and I've done a lot of different things. Right now, I'm kind of like a boat manager, like an asset manager, and I also do boat surveys. So.
And you have your own business as a surveyor, right?
This year, I launched Heverly Marine.
Hell yeah, congrats.
And it's been awesome. It's a business that I will be forever learning with, and I'm using it to help my family and continue to grow, because I don't like being stagnant, and
heck yeah.
I like to keep learning and stay in shape and be able to do what I like to do when I can. So that's pretty much it.
Heck yeah, man. Well, we'll get it. We'll get a chance to dig into all that stuff in a little bit. Worth, you're up, dude.
I'm from Emerald Isle, like Hunter said. Grew up right down the street. Surfed and fished my whole life. Went to UNCW and then went to state and got my engineering degree and did that for a couple years here in town, and kind of got away from it and started fishing.
Yeah, sounds like a lot more fun.
Yeah, and got the opportunities to travel all over the world fishing for a bunch of really cool, very rich people. But it's been interesting. And started a little bait business and just been trying to make some money and trying to travel around, see the world, have fun.
Won a couple tournaments too, right?
Yeah, got lucky.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome.
Worth might hold the record for the most blue marlins caught on the East Coast, or
Yeah.
No,
all of
close-
North America,
close to,
or
like East Coast maybe.
heck yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Chad, you're up, man.
Yeah, Chad Holderness, physical therapist assistant. I'm not a doctor, far from it. But again, titles wise, I don't know where I fall.
Yeah.
Like coach, therapist, I don't know.
I'll call you coach.
Yeah, I prefer
For
coach
sure.
more than therapist. Even kids, adults, like call me coach, I guess.
Makes you feel old.
Yeah.
Coach Chad. Dude.
Yeah,
for
but yeah, no, I started growing up super athletic, a little more landlocked than these guys. Not really saltwater, but a lot of bass fishing. Ate a lot of bass.
Really?
Probably radioactive bass. The Raleigh area.
Dude, that's how you put so much weight on the bench.
Yeah, really
Sharon Harrison.
Yeah, Sharon Harrison. Eating fish in little residential ponds and stuff. Yeah, football, lacrosse stuff. Went to That's where I kind of met. That's how this friend group, I guess, kind of got connected was like D-Dubs and riding back with him to surf.
Yeah.
And then got some injuries, left right after like walking onto the football team. Had some ankle surgeries, moved down here, linked back up with Hunter guys, and went kind of full steam into the saltwater stuff, and
Heck yeah.
kind of haven't looked back. Still got my foot in the football stuff. Do stuff with Film to Field, local football company, hold camps. This summer I'm traveling, doing some college camps. So I'll be at State, ECU, Catawba, a couple other places.
Heck yeah.
For that stuff, I do like emergency medical readiness stuff, like kind of like on field, like insurance, what if stuff, kind of making sure everything's going smooth.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, kind of like what, brought this group together was, you were working at a marathon, the Wilmington Marathon, I think it was in February.
Yeah.
And I was down there to watch a friend. And I turned around and just like ran into you. I was like, "Yo, Chad, what's up, man? I haven't seen you in a little while," because I went in a couple of years ago to get for Chad to kind of help me out, and we were chatting. I was like, "Man, we got to get like a group together. Like, let's do a morning workout. I need to, I'm feeling like sluggish. Got to get something together." And like,
happened quick though.
It happened real quick. Like literally the next week, like you and Hunter were talking. He like kind of said the same thing.
Kind of linked up.
Worth was there, and then like the next week we were doing workouts. And what's so cool about the workout is that like, and the way it started was very just serendipitous. Like we just happened to be in the right, in the same place, and then it happened. And then as we were doing these workouts, being able me always nerding out on business stuff, like the philosophy of the workout regimen that you started with us, we started talking about like, how all of that just plays into like business development and like,
Honestly,
lifestyle.
From like when we walk in the door, it's like, I don't know, it's usually like 10 till 6. We usually like the warm up starts with us running our mouth for about like 5 minutes before we hit the ground. And then it's like, kind of conscious movement. We kind of got a routine, but we're like slightly kind of just like have done it enough. We all got a feel for like what we're like doing within our own space, and then we're running our mouth a whole lot while we're on the ground. And I think like the talking and the movement stuff, by the time we're done with that, like it's ready to work.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but when I leave that session, we had one this morning too, and we wanted to, we like purposely put this after the workout session, because when I leave that session, I'm just like ready to roll, like take on the day.
Flowing.
And man, after doing this for 3 months, I feel like, as good as I've ever felt at the ripe old age of 34, I think now. Which, whatever.
Walking up the stairs, I'm not so out of breath anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But like, so like rewind, the way that I got, met all you guys was through Worth back at UNCW. We lived in the dorms together. That was like more than 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
And, and then, Worth and I were buddies, and then I met Hunter kind of through that. We were always trying to, go catch some waves or chase some waves and go do some cool stuff. And then, so, yeah, man. So, Hunter, I want to talk about, like, one of the guys, a buddy I had on last week, he talked about this, like, really cool quote. He said, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, he's like, fear is a muscle that you have to exercise. Okay. And like, what you guys do in terms of like, deep sea diving, like surfing, like really big waves, really gnarly stuff. Worth, you're taking a boat like down around the, through the Panama Canal or whatever, and like, doing some crazy travels. And Chad, you go out diving and stuff. And so like
stress management.
So, tell us like, I don't know, tell us like what's like the heaviest situation that you've been in, like, diving or on the water or surfing, and, tell us about how you get to that point,
Man, I've had a lot of scary situations.
Is this one going? Are the wives going to listen to this?
Definitely.
When I was younger, I was chasing the professional surfing dream, and I had some near drowning experiences as a kid. And then when I learned about spearfishing and freediving, I kind of looked at it like, oh, that would help in a lot of surfing situations, not knowing that freediving and spearfishing would eventually take over my life. And I tend to chase it more than I do surfing now. But with the spearfishing and freediving, I remember when I first started, the feeling of getting off the boat, you'd be looking at your buddies and you'd be like, come on, dude, let's get in the water. And I'm not getting in until you get in. Now it's still there. Some days you hop right in. Some days you're a little bit like, oh, I don't know, I might need to give it a minute. But jumping off the boat, getting in the water is the hardest part about it. Once you're in the water and you can kind of see what's going on, it's just a natural feeling that takes over where it's sink or swim.
Yeah.
And
Literally.
and you put yourself in that situation, so you have to accept what comes with it. And a lot of times it's big sharks and
Seriously. And you guys are in a couple 100 feet of water sometimes?
anywhere from 50 feet to 350 feet.
Yeah.
And
Would you say that's one of those things, like you take guys out there and they do it their first time, they're going to know whether they're going to be back or not?
yeah, pretty much. You see a lot of people come one time and you never
You made it back, right?
yeah, you never hear from them again.
His first time taking me offshore was quite eye-opening.
Bring it back. I don't remember.
All right, so lots of jetty dives, whatever. I went off to like PTA school.
Yeah.
Had been out of the water for a little bit. They'd like exponentially like taken it to the next level. Had already been doing like offshore stuff. Brando had that Maycraft. I thought that they'd been taking this thing out to the tower like a bunch while I've been gone. Needless, they'd only taken it out there once, and like I'm not nautical really at this point. Like I'm completely oblivious, and they were like, "Hey, we're going to the tower." I'm like psyched up. It's like late November. It was like freezing that morning, like ice on the boat type deal. We get down there, and definitely had been a night for some people the night before, and
Sounds about right.
I jump on the boat. I'm like completely clear-minded, like revved up.
Yeah.
And Brandon and Hunter, they're like psyching, at that point. Like we get on the boat, we get out the jetty. One of them lays down, Hunter's on the wheel. I've never been offshore driving a boat.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, Hunter's like, this line right here, keep it going that way, and let us know when the sun comes up. And I literally had no idea. I'd never driven a boat offshore. We did get past the last buoy out there, and next thing I know, I was like driving a boat for an hour and a half by myself, with like two dudes sleeping next to me. The sun came up, and the tower was right there, and hadn't been in the water. They jump in, and at that point, right, we were still kind of figuring stuff out. Had the boat on anchor. They're in the water. I'm on the boat, still like taking my time, like kind of freaking out.
I remember this.
Hunter's like,
Yep.
jump in, like 15-foot hammerhead. And I was like, oh, so are we like moving spots? She's like, no, that's why you're here. That's why you're here. So first time dumping in the water, like cruising right there, hammers and top to bottom viz, shipwreck, and watch those dudes like slay grouper, cobia, hogfish, like. First time out there, it was wild. Changed my life.
No, and that's exactly why I like bring that up, because
changed
doing
my
something
life.
like that completely changes your perspective on life, right?
like,
It's seriously, like you're
it's
just
messed up how much I like seek that now. Like,
Yeah, that's.
it's a good thing, but you gotta keep it.
I used to tell people all the time, it's like a real life video game.
yeah.
It's like nothing I've ever felt before.
Yeah,
doing that
you
stuff.
get real gratification, and there are real consequences, and
Like yeah.
Stress management for sure. Like when you're in the moment, it's like you better control the moment.
yeah,
Like, put yourself, like frame your situation, make sure you're in a situation where you at least think you're in control, and usually you get pretty good outcome. Looking out for each other. That's kind of where like the teamwork aspect of it's like pretty sweet. Like so, like for me when I was learning, like I was pretty much just like a teammate out there, like figuring it out for y'all, like trying to
helping us figure it out.
helping everybody figure it out. But
Now we have a system in place.
Yeah.
It's like a safety system
Yep.
where you go down on a dive, someone is watching you at all times.
Yep.
They're obligated to making sure you survive, and the other person is breathing up, getting ready for their dive, and
Yep.
kind of spotting the
Secondary.
fish and the sharks and trying to handle the other side of it.
So gnarly.
It's-
So relaxing though.
So it's
90% of the time.
yeah, 90% of the time, I'm like, oh, this is why I do it. And then at least 10% of the time, I'm like, wow, what are we doing? Why are we doing this?
So, I got to like bring this to the business point, and then Worth, I want to hear about your some of your experiences like being offshore and stuff.
Right.
But real quick, but like what Hunter and Chad like just talked about is really kind of how a lot of businesses start, right? It's like we're just gonna go do this thing, we're just gonna wake, we're gonna wake up and take this little 19-footer like couple miles offshore. And, we're just going to, bootstrap it. We're going to do it. And then we get there and we do it and like things start to work. And then
Some things don't work, and
some
you learn
things
from
don't
it,
work.
yeah.
And then we build, you build on that. Like we put processes into place, like, like you were talking about where you got like you got a crew. This guy's in charge of doing that. This guy's in charge of doing that. And that's like the continuous improvement. And like, and that's the whole point of this is like all these things that we do in life every day. If you really like think about that in terms of a business, business philosophy, that's really, kind of the organic transgression of how things go. And, and the fear part being like, to be afraid to like jump out and start something on your own, and like, everybody here has done that. And, I guess it's kind of cool to like, if you really look at it from a story, like where it starts, how you get to a point, and then you look back and you're like, wow, that's kind of how it came together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're lucky. All of us are lucky enough to find something that makes us tick. And
right.
once you find that, you have no choice but to mold your lifestyle around being able to capitalize on your opportunities. Because it's rough offshore a lot of times, and there's a lot of time to work, but when it's pretty, you got to be able to go.
Yeah.
And if you can't go, you're just going to be sitting on the beach watching all your friends go.
And just
Losing
serious FOMO,
Yeah,
right?
losing your mind.
Losing
That's
your mind.
probably the worst feeling. I'm getting over it now. So I've, got a lot of experience and have a lot of good opportunities to go. But when you're stuck on the beach and all your friends are offshore, that's all you can think about all day.
I know, man.
Tomorrow at work's going to be hard when you're
Yeah, it's like when we were younger and we were surfing. It's the
Yep,
same
thing.
situation. We grew up surfing. It was like, had to go to school or had to do this. And
Well, luckily our dads would let us
yeah,
be able to surf.
luckily, and because
Yeah.
the best wave
Hell yeah.
literally disappeared not 5-10 years ago. So it was a fleeting thing that we didn't know it was fleeting at the time. But
Yeah.
I mean, it literally was some of the best days of my life spent on Shackford, and it's wild. It's gone.
That's
Yeah.
a perfect example of why you got to go. And
Yeah, you gotta go.
Yeah,
you never know.
exactly.
Stuff.
Life is short,
Yeah,
and
man.
if you can find something that you enjoy doing and make it to where you can do it as often as possible, then
You got to go do it, man.
yeah,
You got
that's
to.
a big part of happiness, I think.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So no, I mean like that's it. I mean that's like a perfect like point of like every the whole point of this what we're doing here with this podcast and like getting people together is that life's short and you got to go do what you want to do and the best way to be able to do, like using offshore fishing, surfing, diving, like there's so many elements that come into play to like to find that like perfect time. That it's not like next Wednesday at 9 a.m. we're going fishing. It's like, dude, like I don't know when it's gonna happen. There's a window within like the next 3 days, and I've got to be able to manage my life and my schedule so that I can go get it while it's good, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
So, yeah, that's awesome. So tell us about you've taken a boat from the East Coast of the U.S. through the Panama Canal out to the Pacific Ocean and. Give us an example of what is, a heavy experience. And then also, you do some, day trading and investment. And what are some of the like principles that you can take from, what you do on the boat and how do you like translate that into what you do on your investment side?
Well, all of it, and I've learned more on the investment side is planning, more planning, and having a cohesive idea and not letting other elements get you off of that plan, because even like when you're fishing or traveling or you got to have things can go wrong in very small amounts of times, and unless you have somewhat of a plan, it's really just going to take you and take you off your mental, take you off of everything that you've been trying, your goal, honestly.
Right.
And derails you from it all. So, yeah, a lot of it's just the planning aspect of it. And even when you're fishing, it's kind of you're going out there in the environment and everything's very fluid and different. And you might have an idea and you might have to adapt a little bit, but as long as you're still, staying with that one goal and you're getting to that point and make sure that you have all your eggs, aligned, that you can take care of that goal is really pretty important. I feel like on any part of life, honestly. And it's crazy how, fishing, diving, surfing, maybe not so much surfing, but it's more of a fun thing. But, the planning aspect to it is really, it makes all the difference in everything. So
that's what my dad preached growing up. I don't know if you remember him always saying this. And my dad, is a sharp guy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't use foul language, but growing up, he would always say proper preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yeah.
And that's something I still think about all the time because you get caught in a spot and you're not prepared and you're just, I think back to him like, I should have listened.
Dad would
yeah. Well, his dad was a very good on the lifestyle that we're talking about too. When he wanted to go surfing or when he wanted to do things that he enjoyed in life, I mean, he made it where he was gone. He did it.
Yeah.
Hunting or fishing or surfing. I mean, it was.
Yeah. He's a great example of what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
he
sure.
runs fishing charters all summer. It's what he loves to do. And then he does guided bow hunts all winter up in Ohio. So
cool.
He has shaped his
and
professional life around his hobbies.
And
Recently going
your
to
name's
Keys, right?
your name's Hunter, and what's your brother's name?
Fisher.
Yeah.
That's great. That's like, I love that.
That says it all.
That's so rad. And then your son's name?
My son is Diver, and my daughter is Palmer.
Yep.
And we're just kind of
The dream alive.
Yeah. Chad has a little girl as well.
Kayala.
Yep. So we've got our first on the way in a couple months.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be joining the dad crew.
Yeah.
We got two of the raddest dads in town on the show right now.
We're trying.
There's
man.
a bunch of them out there.
There's a lot of rad dads for sure. But,
That's awesome.
But that's why it's important for us to stay in shape and stay, on the grind because we want to show our kids that life's not easy. You have to work really hard, but if you work really hard, then you can have a really good life.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that said, that's also where that safety aspect comes into play.
Yeah.
Because I don't want the hobbies to
having kids
take me out of doing the
has
stuff
changed
that I want to
everything.
do like 10 years down the line with Kayala.
Yeah, I guess going offshore,
like-
before you have a kid, and then going offshore
It's totally
after
different.
you have a kid,
Slightly
there's
different.
probably a different little aspect of that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And not in a bad way, though, really. Like,
No, in a good
definitely had a
way.
little more perspective.
Yeah, you have more perspective. You think about the decisions you make because a lot of your little decisions put you in the places that you end up, and it's all about handling those situations and making good ones so that you're in situations you can get out of.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And then if you do make a mistake, not just like harping on that mistake, being like, all right, we could have done that better. Like, let's get over.
Yeah, let's not do that
Let's
again.
get over what could have happened.
Like I was doing this morning, I came in, I was like, guys, I screwed up, and it was like I'm so critical of myself, but like a tiny little mistake, and it like kind of, it took me everything. I was so mad.
And that's kind of where like us flapping our gums in the beginning of the workout, we kind of just put stuff out there. Like it can be a variety of like things. It's almost like a little counseling session.
No, it is. Like, we got like a little like brain.
Throw it out on the table, like whatever you say, kind of is like staying there. And social,
Yeah. Well, I mean, like if you kind of go back to like college or when, like younger, like when we were hanging out and like doing stuff, it was like pretty much around like drinking and like partying, right?
Yeah.
And that's the normal transgression. Now it's like we're like hanging out and talking about like wellness and like how to take care of ourselves and like how to build a business, and it's just like,
how are your chickens doing? What do you eat?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, and being able to barter some eggs for some fresh fish. That's a pretty sweet deal, right?
Oh, yeah.
I can argue with that.
Yeah. So Chad, tell us about like how you have like put together our workout routines, like the philosophy behind like how we do that, and then let's also bring that ultimately into
So that's kind of
business development as well.
like one of my things I've always been like, right, it all adds up, right? Like
Yep.
one of my little side things is like equation training. Confused a lot of people, but I've just kind of left it like it is because they're like, "What are you, a math coach?" And I'm like, "Sure." But yeah, it's like y'all, like we talk about it all the time. We've all been through like that, like high school, like grinding old school fashion stuff, which is like awesome platform.
Expand on that a little more.
So like just like that feeling, like you're going in there and doing stuff that like at the time's like, but like
Getting strong for the first
getting
time.
strong for the first time, and like at that age, like your bodies can tolerate a lot of stuff, but like.
Right.
I think we've all been through stuff, and then like you see people that like kind of didn't get out of that phase, and those are usually the guys that aren't moving too well
Right.
anymore, and that have
Yeah.
a lot of stuff, or like it's the guy that like is like, oh well, I can't do that because when I was 19, I did this in the weight room. It's like, dude, you probably should have fixed that then, but
Yeah.
but that's kind of where like my philosophy now is kind of a lot more like, man, we're in there, we're working really hard, we do some max effort stuff, but like. It's all about like the shapes and the positions you're in and kind of like
Yeah.
how you're getting in and out of stuff and like actually searching to understand like what you're feeling versus like what you're trying to target and
Yeah.
trying to put all that together. Kind of like if you're going for something business wise, like you need to know what that is and then you need to know what that looks like so that when you're doing it, you actually know you're doing it.
Yep.
Versus like thinking you're doing it but being completely off the mark. And then like the gym and like therapy stuff, like if you don't understand what you're targeting, what shape it should look like, and you can look at yourself and tell you're in that shape and know that you're feeling it where you should be, like it all kind of starts coming together where like to the point where like now it's like, all right, like you can take this script of like how we get in and out of like our hip load and where our feet need to be, where like our trunk needs to be, and like it's like, oh well, that's kind of what it is when I'm on a board, or that's where my weight transition needs to be when you're doing airs, and like kind of cool situation. Like we were working out that one day, and like you were talking about like airs and like where like you kind of like weight shift beforehand, and then like 2 days later I surfed, and I'm not a great surfer at all, like a lot of these guys, but like that talk, like I'd been thinking about it and did like one of the best little like floater little air drops that I'd like ever done, and it was like that little thing, and like I thought about that weight shift, and I like thought about where my weight was gonna be, and it came together, and that was really like putting the feel of all the workout stuff, and then like the thought process of like where it is in the water and stuff. Like it's just cool for me, like in the workouts, like with these guys, I'm learning as much as like I'm trying to teach too. Same thing with the kids, like you learn one thing from somebody, and then you almost put it in a box where you're like, for you, like in business, like if I'm helping this one company and this, I'm trying to apply it and it doesn't help them, I know like, if I get somebody in a similar situation, if I try to apply it and it doesn't work, the next person that's in that similar situation, I'm probably not going to try to apply that same thing because it's probably not going to work. And then I kind of like compartmentalize, like, all right, this is going to help someone like this is going to help somebody like that. So it's not so much like, it's almost like a flow chart in my head that's always kind of like moving around.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and I think we can take the workouts that we're doing to help our bodies, because I went in there with a bad shoulder. I've had 2 ankle surgeries. Worth's had a bad back. I'm sure.
Yep. Yeah, I've had my fair share of ailments.
Right. So we're getting in all these positions and moving our bodies, trying to strengthen all the little muscles around our injuries.
Yeah.
And then you look at a business and 80% of your business is running well, but there's these little things that you can do to get the other side on par with what's doing well. And that's how my body feels when we're working out. And afterward, I'm like, oh, I'm starting to feel a lot better.
Address the low-hanging fruit that it's like, all right, I'm going to chase these low-hanging fruits that I know are not really great for me as I'm still doing the stuff that I like to do and is working good.
Yep.
And then, like, slowly kind of leveling it out and being like, oh, well, that's not my weakest link now. Let me try to pull something else up. And
Yeah.
like you said, it's kind of like self-accountability type deal. Like, don't be blind to where you're, like, you're at your weakest, because it's probably where stuff's going to, like, get lost.
Yep.
And like those first couple like sessions, like some of the stuff we were doing, I think we were all just like, dude, like, what are we doing? Like, I don't feel this. It doesn't. And why am I doing this?
Why are you talking about where my head goes?
Yeah, why are you talking about all this?
Exercise and then again, then it starts like flowing, and you're like, oh, all right, well, that's why all this kind of looks the same. Is like, I'm not trying to pull, like, not to knock stuff, but like we're not doing things that look completely out of the ordinary in like its own scheme. Like everything's kind of like going into that same flow, and you create a flow, then you kind of work in it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, when you think back to it, it's like we like start with the basics, you know, like the fundamentals, groundwork, and then, you know, you
stand and stuff,
level up a little bit at a time. And like there'll be
Wall
some
drills.
there'll be some days where I know I've done it. I think in Hunter's probably the biggest one with his like going like, dude, this isn't heavy enough. Like, let's do it. But you know, it's like, this is not heavy enough. We all do it, and then you kind of overdo it, and then the next day you're like, damn.
Well, that's that self accountability.
Should not have done that. You know, like should have listened to Chad.
I'm gonna let my guys roll the dice when it's appropriate.
Also, one of the best ways to learn is getting outside of your comfort zone a little bit.
Exactly.
So you
gotta flirt with it.
You gotta know when to push and when not to push.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, when just kind of like looking back on how I started, my business, and applying that to what we're doing in the gym together is, it wasn't just like I didn't have like a full plan, and like I didn't just like cold turkey quit something and start something new. I was able to kind of parlay the previous work into like some new work, and make it good on both sides with everybody that I was working with. And step by step, you do a little bit more, you meet some other people, and it's just like interesting, like organically how things come together. And I mean, that's kind of the story of how this has come together. I mean, so the way we got back at UNCW back in 2007, living in the dorms to where we are now, it's kind of funny to look back.
Yeah.
it's wild, man. Time is flying.
I know.
And just like me growing up with him, me meeting you,
Yep.
and then our group somehow meeting him.
Yeah.
Still,
He was roommates with Dubs.
Honestly, like,
his
my
roommate-
guys back home also, like, from high school, I didn't even know, though. Like, those were your boys when you came down
Yeah,
here, like Parker and all those guys. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So the Carey crew kind of
Yeah, that was
with a lot of
all
your
those also people I met at UNCW, so in the dorms. So
Yeah.
yeah, small world for sure.
So Worth, you're getting ready to go to Bermuda
Yep.
here for how? So tell us about that.
How many times have you done that run?
This will be my third July in Bermuda.
Tell us about that.
Going over there with a boat, just a boat that a family owns, 60-foot boat, leaving from Morehead City, going to Bermuda. It's like 600 miles.
Dang.
Take us about 2 nights and 2 days. We can make it probably a little quicker, but the fuel issue is kind of, the boat I'm on doesn't hold as much fuel to really run straight there. Go over there. We're fishing 4 tournaments. One of them's the World Cup, which is like a worldwide tournament. It's 24 hours, and the biggest blue marlin wins like over $1 million.
Oh my gosh.
Are you streaming any of that?
Maybe it depends on Elon if he. The Starlink.
The Starlink, yeah, we gotta call him up and get that dialed in.
It was cheap for a little while, and then I think he figured it all out and bumped it up a couple $100 a month. So
Yeah, the people that can afford that can
most
afford
people
that.
can afford it for sure. But it is like $1,000 a month, so it's like a little crazy. But anyways, then we do 3 more tournaments there. They're pretty almost back to back. They're like 3 or 4 day tournaments. Bunch of boats come from all over. Pretty much the whole East Coast, really. But still, there's some boats from like the Gulf and stuff that come over there.
Yep.
Very cool. Bermuda's, one of my favorite places I've ever been. It's very different than Bahamas, and it's just weird that it's just out in the middle of the ocean.
I
and,
mean,
like,
it's literally like it's almost like directly
it's north
east
of North Carolina.
It's
actually.
north. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
It's
like Virginia or something like that is the same.
It's
thing.
like due east of Virginia.
Yeah, and it's wild. You go from, you leave here in North Carolina, and it's like marsh grass and pine trees and green, nasty water. And then it's like you get on a boat for a day and a half through the middle of the ocean, and then you just land on this tropical paradise. It's just, it's kind of like a don't know. It's kind of a head trip,
Yeah.
honestly. It's just
in the middle of
the ocean.
nowhere.
And beautiful place, great people, very clean. It's a super expensive island, but
Sounds like a good place to go.
no, it's.
And
Every July, I'd like to live the rest of my life. Every July there.
and I mean that's like your job, right? Like that's like part of your livelihood. That's how you make a living is you get to go and do stuff like that.
yeah,
Pretty
and,
rad.
It's cool, you know. I've kind of been freelancing for the last since 2021. I had a job through COVID. I actually quit one of my jobs like in March of 2020, and the boat I was supposed to be on was in Costa Rica, and I got stuck there for 2 years. And you know they wouldn't let anyone come in and come out, and both the captain and both captains were actually in United States when they shut it off. So the boat was literally sitting there and was taken care of by this South African guy that was just there, stuck there, too, working. And so I did that, and then that job didn't really work out because the boat was gone, and they were not really going. That COVID really messed their whole program up. So I kind of started doing the whole freelancing thing, and that's kind of what I've been doing since then. Just I work on a handful of different boats, and went to Cabo in December for like a month or so, and
Heck yeah.
ran a little boat, doing like striped marlin fishing and stuff. And
That's awesome.
and that was incredible. That's a National Geographic site. Just
Living the dream.
whales and seals and marlins and everything everywhere in one spot. Like it was insane. It was one of the coolest experiences of my life.
That's
and
awesome.
just try to keep racking those cool experiences up, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
That's what it's all about.
I grew up surfing and fishing, but kind of like Hunter says, when I went offshore and started doing that, that kind of took over my life. And surfing's good in North Carolina, but you get to a point where you got to travel, and because it's just not that great of a place.
Yes. I mean, when it's good, it's
And when it's good, it's good. And when we grew up, we had Shackford Banks, and I mean that was like the lifeblood of our surfing. Like, I mean, when it was good there, it was the best anywhere. And
The best wave in North America. For
It's some of the best waves I've ever surfed in my life, honestly. It's
Yeah.
a beach bake for sure. But yeah, we lost that place, man. It was like part of surfing left me. Really, it was kind of sad.
And your dad's generation was the one that kind of like pioneered that or like
Yeah,
found that
our dads,
wave,
yeah.
right? Like both
yeah.
your dads generate like
Yep.
Yep. Our dads grew up surfing there before anyone really knew.
how
of
did
it.
how did they find it? Like how
I mean, they were born and raised there,
right,
so
so just from like going around and like fishing, it's like oh my god, there's a wave, like look at that wave.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when it was going on, you could see it from.
you could see it from the bridge.
Yeah, from the bridge.
Going to Beaufort, you look
Got
over
it.
and see giant waves coming in and barreling.
And it was like
Oh
the
my God.
perfect wave, just went right down the shipping channel and just directed right onto this one beach. And it was like a weird anomaly that, I don't know. It's like something like, I don't know, they have all the real big waves, and they have like the canyons that come up into and that's what makes them really big.
Right.
But there was like a small little version of it with the way the port channel, like, I don't know, I guess honed the wave right into that one spot. And it was literally like double overhead, perfect breaking on the beach. Like,
And every hurricane that would come off Africa and come toward us we'd basically have trade winds
The
blowing
right way.
toward the hurricane, which was straight offshore at Shackelford. And if there was a hurricane swell, it'd be straight offshore and pumping for 3-4 days
Yeah.
in a row.
And you guys are just going like camp out and hang
Yeah,
out for
we'd
a couple
camp
days?
out, bring a cooler full of food, and live the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a special all our friends, family, and the wave was so close to the beach that like you could literally like yell and like
Yeah, you can talk to
talk to
people.
your friend that's
Yeah.
sitting in the lineup, and it's insane. It was an anomaly that it's like I said, when it left, it really tore a lot of the surfing, like, I don't know, that I had.
Yeah, would you still live back home if Shackelford was still there?
I'd go there a lot more. Yeah, a lot.
Oh man. Well, I mean that's like, you know, talking about that is like a good metaphor for, you know, you got to get it while it's good, right?
Yeah,
like in all aspects of life, like
Timing.
Shaq is, is gone because of dredging and erosion and all stuff, like things that we can't really control.
Strenuous factors that.
Yeah. And how many, and I'm such a culprit of this. It's like, I'll do that. Like I'll be able to, like whatever it is, like I'll be able to do that later in life. I'm going to do this now and I'm going to focus on, making money and this and that. And then I'll be able to do it. And then, just like, more and more think about it, it's like, no, that's actually not the way that now. Like I'm not doing that. I don't think I'll ever retire because the day, like I always like want to have something. I truly enjoy business and working with people and solving problems, and I don't see myself ever retiring. So if you think about it like from that perspective, it's like I want to live the lifestyle I want to live, and I'm not saving for retirement because I'm not. I don't really see myself retiring.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's not the right philosophy, but that's the way I'm going to do it. And I think that you guys are kind of on board with that.
Well, when Worth chose to pursue the fishing career at the time, I remember talking to him, weekly, and he was an engineer with an engineering degree working in town. And he told me, like, I don't know about that. And I'm looking at him like, what do you mean, dude? You're an engineer. Like, that's a career. Like, where we're from, there aren't many engineers.
Yeah.
Commercial fishing and that type of stuff. But I remember thinking he was crazy for wanting to quit that to do something he loved. And not that I thought he was crazy. I thought it was normal. But at the same time, I was like, dude, I don't know. And now, I mean, would you change anything?
No, not really. No.
Yeah,
I mean, no.
That's
Not at all.
that's awesome.
What pushed you to make that decision there?
Well, my grandfather was an engineer. My dad was like a builder and developer, and I went to school for civil engineering, kind of like thinking that, I could somehow get into that field and, help with my dad and just kind of following that, those footsteps.
Yeah.
Well, when we graduated college, it was 2008, so it was not the best, like, graduating environment by any means, getting jobs, and I don't know, I saw just a lot of that, like, just that there's just the stress and just the bureaucracy with the engineering, and there's just a lot of stuff that I did not realize, and I probably should have, but I was off having so much fun in college that I didn't go and do an internship. I didn't do really any summer classes or anything. Mm-hmm. And when I graduated, I went, and I don't know, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, it might be, it's perfect for some other people and that fits their lifestyle and, their definition of success. But for you, that just wasn't your definition.
Who knows? And if there would have been a different environment and a different this and a different that, yeah, maybe there might have been a path for me there. But I don't look back and regret it by any means.
That's awesome.
So,
no, that's so cool. And, in our last just like couple minutes here as we wrap up, I guess, success is like a totally subjective term, right? And like happiness is different for everybody. And for us to sit here and say, this is just our way of doing stuff, right? This is our way of like, trying to live the dream, and that's different for everybody. And I sometimes get stuck in, when I'm talking to people, I'm like, you should do this, or like, this is how you do it. And I like try to catch myself, and I'm like, no, like this is what I've done, and this is how I've done it, and whether that's right or wrong is really, truly a subjective thing to each person. I'm highly critical of myself, and I put one typo in a proposal, and it like ruins my just ruins my morning. The next week. I know, because I'm just like so critical. But for other people, whatever, it doesn't matter. But
yeah, you're right.
It's just, I guess that's kind of all our all our own separate paths. So
continuing to be like self-aware.
Yeah, man, that's what it's all, and that's what being with you guys, a couple times a week and doing the workout is like. working on just being aware of yourself, like physically. But then also we've started to work in a little meditation cycle at the end. We're, slowly into that, but also like going into some mindfulness and self-awareness, which I struggle with because I go home after, a serious day of work and it takes a while for me to check out. And Natalie's like, hello, anybody home? Like, what's going on? So, but let's wrap it up here and just everybody, like, let's go down the line. And, I'm sure there's people out there that would love to, connect with you guys, whether it's for like, hey, I need an experienced guide for boating, or I need someone, I need someone to help me get fit or get my, just get my life together. So just go down the line, and tell people how they can get in touch with you and, and look you up. So go for it, Hunter.
Yeah. I've got a website, heverlymarine.com, for my survey business. So
Nice.
if you need a boat survey, then you can look me up there.
Heck yeah.
I'm also on Instagram.
And boats pretty good.
Yeah. I've spent a lot of time on boats, and it's that's why I started the business, because I have seen so much on boats that I feel like I can help people make good decisions
Heck yeah.
when they're looking to buy a boat.
Hell yeah. Worth, how about you?
You can find me on Instagram, wbfishingcharters.com, or wbfishingcharters at whatever it is. But,
Yeah.
you can find me there. I don't really do any per se charters anymore, but I have been trying to set some stuff up in the winters for like charters in different places in the country. So even if you are interested in doing some bill fishing somewhere, between Cabo, Costa Rica, or something like that,
Where's your man? Hit him up.
I'll know where to
Totally
go.
willing to be flown out places. And
Yeah, whatever.
And Worth is one of the best fishermen in the world. when you see how far he's taken his tackle game and all the small details of how he does everything, it's helped me a ton, and he is great at it.
All right, Chad. Where we
yeah,
find you?
man. So Instagram, Equation Training, spelled as it is. I'm not going to try to spell it, or I'll probably mess it up. But yeah, man. So again, more of a coach, kind of just bringing like a holistic. I don't even really like to say holistic.
I was going to say the word for you.
Because then it turns into like, oh, is he a hippie? And I guess I partially am too that, but I don't know. A bunch of Chadisms is what people always say.
Chadisms.
I had a guy come into the office. He's actually seeing my other therapist right now in the clinic. Haven't seen him in 4 years. Ran into him at Chopped the other day after I was getting some shoes from Fleet Feet, and then those are drops. I hope they paid me for that.
Yeah, you got to hold on to this.
But yeah, so he hadn't seen him in like 3.5 years. He was a patient right after you, and he was like talking about all the stuff we were doing. And the other therapist was like, "You actually remember what he told you?" And the guy was like, "Yes, Chadisms." And this new therapist has just started working with me like 2 weeks ago. He was like, "Wow, people listen to you." I was like, "I guess so."
Chad'll get you right.
Chad will get you right.
Yeah.
Well, heck yeah, guys, we did it. We've been talking about this for a long time, and we actually brought it to reality, which is pretty cool. I'm super stoked. Thank you guys for coming on, and
Thanks
thank
for
you
having
everybody.
us.
Yeah, man.
I think we could have done a whole nother hour.
Yeah, we could have kept going.
We'll be back, maybe.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. If you like what you hear from these guys, hit them up, get in touch, and go challenge yourself. Keep the dream alive, and enjoy it.